Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Thursday, and we have Brent Beaird, a college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Second portion of our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup, softball and high school baseball playoffs. And they're going on right now. And I know Buchholz won last night to advance, but we'll get it all updated by Mike Ridought from the PrepZone.com and Main Street Daily News. If you missed it, Gator softball was postponed last night due to weather out in Arkansas. They'll play this morning against Kentucky at 11 a.m. on the SEC network. And the Warriors and the Knicks extend their series. Let's go to the Titan More Hotline. We're joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How you doing?
Shane, I'm doing fine. Good to be with you as we are into the deeper in the month of May with the college football preseason magazines about 2 or 3 weeks away. And then obviously the big meeting in Destin for the SEC that will hopefully have a lot of decisions made as far as do they go to 8? Do they go to 9 conference games? So there's a lot on the horizon.
Yeah, there really is. Brent, in your notes here, we got some week one, or I don't know if they're week one, but first couple of weeks, some odds out from Vegas. The boys out in the desert have some interesting odds on some of these games.
Yep, they do. Absolutely. Texas-Alabama plays the second week. Alabama's favored, and it is a home game for Alabama. You would certainly think that Texas has the advantage with Quinn Ewers at quarterback, but that I'm sure the point spread would go back and forth. LSU, 1.5 favored over Florida State. I mean, that's basically a pick 'em in Orlando, so that's a game we're really looking forward to. A&M basically a touchdown and a half at Miami. I would agree with that. A&M still the better team between the two. They've got Florida +9, and the comment with this, now the odds are from FanDuel and the commentaries from Saturday Down South, and the commentary said this game only gets interesting if Cam Rising can't play. Now, he did have an ACL, and he's rehabbing that. Cam Rising's the Utah quarterback. And then South Carolina, North Carolina, that's early game, too. I believe that game is in Charlotte. South Carolina +1.5. So, anyway, for entertainment purposes there's a little bit of odds on the first few big games.
Yeah, and just looking at that, I know a lot of people are in love with Texas this year for some reason. I know they got a lot of players coming back. They've added to it. Yep. Obviously, the quarterback's a pretty good player. That is a dicey game for Alabama. Very dicey. Sure. I think LSU will handle Florida State personally. I think A&M is going to have a great year. That's how much I think of Bobby Petrino as a play caller. And North Carolina with Drake May is going to be tough to stop. So, man, that gets you excited looking at that. We got some text on the Titan MR text line. Let's see here. This is from Andy, and he says, Brent, On3 has the Gators at 5.5 wins this season, as does DraftKings. Seems to be a trend of disrespecting Billy's talent acquisition skills. I've touched on this the last few days on my show, Brent. I'm firmly standing by that the Gators will win 8 games. ESPN has the Gators favored in 8 games. Not that means anything, but I see where people we've won 6 games the last 2 years. I get it. I just think this roster is going to be better. I think they're going to be a more consistent football team. And what happened the last 2 years has no bearing on this year.
Correct.
I'm in the minority.
Right.
I get it, but I just don't see how Florida does not win 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, no, I'm more with you with that. 5.5, I think is way under. And look, they've got 3 games that are what we would call 50-50 games, with Kentucky and Missouri, and I believe there's an Arkansas game in there. That will determine what they do. I tell you one that you need to watch out for is Vanderbilt is 3.5. I do a podcast with my partner in sports, Travis Ryer, been a good friend for years. Travis, we did on the podcast last week. Travis said, and people need to look this up as a possibility, is Vanderbilt could start 6-0.
Are you serious? I haven't even looked at their schedule.
Yeah. Look at Vanderbilt's schedule. They start with Hawaii in Nashville after going there last year. Not saying that's necessarily going to happen, but what Travis said was when you look at the schedule, you could see how it would be possible for Vanderbilt to maybe start either 6-0 or something close.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Josh on Facebook Live says, ask Brent if he thinks the Gators can hold Utah to 14 or less points in the opener. I believe the front 7 will be light years better than last season, more aggressive too. I'll tell you this, Josh, if you hold anybody to 14 points or less in college football, you're going to win. The way the game is played today. Again, that Utah game to me, is Cam Rising going to play? And we probably won't know until kickoff. He's going to practice. I don't know how his rehab's coming or what have you, but he's a very good college quarterback. So we'll see. But boy, coming off an ACL tear, what was it in January? That's going to be tough in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Well, remember, and he was going through that in the bowl game. The thing, the picture that a lot of people can't get out of their mind is how physical that Utah was in just dismantling Southern Cal in the conference championship game. Now, I will balance that by saying that you and I and whoever we could round up could have run the ball on Southern Cal's defense in that championship game, because it was terrible, and that's what they've got to fix that's coming up. But to me, besides Cam Rising, the real issue also is going to be is can Florida match the physicality on the line of scrimmage with Utah? And Utah is a very physical football team. Utah, in some ways, is almost an SEC team playing in their conference. So that is another thing to watch for that opener for the Gators.
Yeah, they won back-to-back Pac-12 champs and championships, and I didn't expect Florida to beat them last year. Utah helped us win that game, but it's a very good football program. But anything can happen, and I think we'll just have to wait and see with Cam Rising. Brent, your this little power poll you got after spring practice. Obviously, Georgia's up at the top, and we know they're loaded. It is true. I did look at their schedule. They got one of the damn easiest schedules I've ever seen.
Yes. Now, in fairness to Georgia, they were scheduled to play Oklahoma in like either the opener or the second game this year, but instead that game did not come through. But to Shane's point, although we're looking at the Vanderbilt schedule, our listeners and viewers need to look at the Georgia schedule. When you look at that schedule, is there any doubt in your mind that Georgia will not be in Atlanta?
No.
I frankly think now that they'll be tested a couple of times, but when you look at the schedule, It would be very hard for Georgia not to be either 12-0 or 11-1.
I agree. I don't have that win total in front of me, but I would take Georgia over. I think if I remember correct, I'd take Alabama under. I'd take Tennessee under. I'd take A&M over. I'd take Ole Miss under. And we'll talk about. We got all summer to talk about that. But what are some other things in the power poll here that caught your eye?
I think some of the others would be, for one, South Carolina, in 6 of their 11 losses in the past 2 years, after they got hit in the mouth early on, they were routed. And again, this poll comes from Saturday Down South. I'll give credit where it's due. The other thing that really gets my attention here is Missouri. They've got a win on the road. Eli Drinkwith, who I still think is a pretty good football coach, and again, we got to remember he signed an extension and got a raise, so he's going to be there for a while. But Drinkwith is 3-13, Shane, in games away from Columbia. So that is something that they've got to be able to replace that, and they've got to be able to do better with that too. Mississippi State, real quick, we know what they can do on offense, although it would be different this year. And with Mike Leach, unfortunately, not being there. But they're very good defensively and don't get enough credit for what they can do. They were 4th in the SEC in opponent third down conversions, which is 33%. And by the way, Shane, we've mentioned this 2 or 3 times. That 33% is really good. Tennessee's third down defensive conversion rate last year was like 52%. That's why Tennessee did not do even better than we thought they would.
Yeah, Tennessee's got defensive issues for sure. Same with Ole Miss, in my opinion. Tony asked a question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mello. Do you think Napier's play calling lacked some creativity with not enough misdirection? Didn't seem to keep defenses, and that's kind of the end of it. I don't know. I guess he meant off balance way. Here it is. Keep defenses guessing. I think that's a must for you have to win 8 games. Thoughts, go Gators. Play calling has a lot to do with your personnel and what your kids can handle.
Right.
Again, Billy Napier doesn't have any place different than Lane Kiffin or Nick Saban. I think a lot of people don't realize that. It comes down to play calling is all about knowing when to call it. But the biggest thing is what your players can and cannot do. Right. And I think we were handcuffed a lot last year. I really do. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be open and wide up and doing all these misdirections, this, that, and the other. I don't know. But I know for a fact, because I had some inside sources, that our playbook was pretty vanilla for whatever reason. I'll just leave it at that. Brent, so I had a couple people ask again, when will we know, or are we going to know who the permanent, there's no more permanent, once they realign the SEC, there's no more permanent opponents from the West, right? It's all going to be one division and it's going to be mixed up every year, correct?
Yeah, well, or we will stop thinking about it from the East to the West, although we may never stop looking at it like that, even though it will be now we've overcome that in basketball. We had an East and a West in basketball. It's been just one division, shall we say, since then, or over the last several years. So we've kind of adjusted with that. What is probably going to happen is they're going to go to Destin with enough information. Now, they could do it before then, but they'll probably, since they're all together at the end of this month, they will vote on what to do with, do you go to 8 or do you go to 9? Okay, once they decide that, the schedule, and they may delay this a little bit this year, but the SEC, for whatever reason, has unveiled the schedule in either September or October. So that's when the 24 schedule will come out. So once they decide what they want to do, the schedule maker will then go into high gear and get this done. Now, look, I'm sure they've got all kinds of scenarios already plotted out via the computer, and they just need to choose whatever they want to go with. But that's the timetable as far as getting out the schedule, and it starts this month in Destin.
Hey, Chris Storing Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, on the Titan MR hotline. Brent, the SEC, I think everybody knows it's the dominant conference, but I was looking, I totally forgot about this. The SEC has played in 16 of the last 17 national championship games. That is hard to believe.
It is. They haven't won all of them, but just to be able to play in them the way that they have is really amazing. And the dominance, again, for the league is just absolutely unbelievable. And then you've got OU and Texas that's coming in that's going to add to that. I mean, the last 4 years, the SEC's 14-2 in New Year's 6 bowl games. As you mentioned, national championship game been involved the last 16 out of 17. I mean, it just kind of goes on and on. And the last time another conference had more first-round picks than the SEC was 2015, which is almost 10 years ago. I mean, it just really is amazing, frankly. One thing that also came out is where, as you look at the top 3 states by high school alma mater for the NFL draft this year were Florida with 36 players drafted, Texas with 30, Georgia with 23, and obviously California was up there too. But the thing now look, Florida, the state of Texas, state of Florida doesn't surprise you. But man, Shane, the talent that you get from the state of Georgia is just mind-boggling with this draft class. And look, you've also got something similar over the years, even from the state of Mississippi and the state of Louisiana. So folks keep moving down here, and there's a reason for that, and the talent just keeps growing.
Yeah, it really does. We got some Facebook Lives here for you, Brent. Joseph says, with the rule changes potentially speeding games up, do you think we see more NASCAR play calling and schemes from the offenses? I'm going to answer first.
Sure.
The rule changes are absolutely stupid, in my opinion. You're talking about, Brent, they're trying to speed the game up for whatever reason. How are there people that you know that go to the Swamp or go to Bryant-Denny on a Saturday afternoon when they leave their house in Muscle Shoals, Alabama at 6 a.m. to go tailgate, or somebody go to the Grove early in the morning to tailgate, knowing they're going to be there till about 11 o'clock at night? Is anybody bitching or complaining how long the game takes?
No.
Yeah,
and they know they're devoting their day.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. That's what college football is. It's the pageantry of seeing people you went to college with. You don't see them but once a year at the games, and you tailgate. And I just don't understand why they're doing this. And yes, I know games last a long time sometimes on TV. Well, that's the TV's problem. I don't understand it at all. I'm totally against it.
Well, someone who, when all this legislation was being brought up, and again, the biggest change that we've got is going to be that the clock is going to keep running after first downs is going to be the biggest thing. Now, what they figured out, they've done the analytics on this. And even with that new rule change, it's still only going to cut out an average of 10 plays. Shane, that's it. That's it. 10 plays in the whole game.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm very upset about it because I love college football, the NFL. Let them have their rules. I mean, it is what it is. So, gets me irritated. Not a whole lot does, but some things do. Dan has a question here, Brent, brought to you by Mel Law on Facebook. With Miami, will Miami still be Florida's opener next year, or do you think with Texas and OU coming into the league that will all change?
We don't know that. That's a good question. That there's still a lot of these schedules that have yet to be determined, and that's going to be one of the things that we've got to wait and see what the league wants to do. It could delay some of these games. I know they've got contracts for those games. What do they do with a lot of that? So I'd love to have the answer for that, and it's a question everybody wants to know about right now. But that's something we'll find out over the next 3 or 4 months what is going to happen. Yes, not only with the SEC games, but some of these much anticipated non-conference games.
All right, let's go around the SEC pretty quick here. Anything new in Tuscaloosa? I know they got the DB from Louisiana's transfer in there, and there's a possibility of the kid from UAB, who I think is a safety transfer in Alabama.
Yeah, Trey Amos actually was with Billy Napier's team, and he is at Alabama, has some good experience, so they needed to get more experience there. And Jalen Key is the kid that you're talking about. He's from UAB. He's a safety. So now he released a top 3 list that had Alabama, FSU, and Ole Miss involved with that. So Alabama's done a pretty good job with transfers. They didn't get many. They actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the point. Is you don't have to get 20 transfers to be successful, but if you can get 4 or 5 who can really help you, that makes a difference.
Yeah, let's move down to Auburn. They got the transfer from Michigan State, Peyton Thorne. He may be their starter, he may not, but it gives Hugh Freeze another option.
It does, especially with TJ Finley leaving. If people haven't heard that, he was at LSU, went to Auburn. Now he's looking around. Auburn also got an Ohio State transfer at wide receiver, Caleb Burton. Auburn also got an offensive lineman transfer. His name is Jaden Muskrat. Yeah, that's his name. He was at Tulsa for a while. And Shane, I will still say what they've had to do, and this is important as them finding a quarterback, is they had to rebuild their offensive line because Gus Malzahn and Brian Harsin did such an awful job recruiting offensive linemen.
Yeah. Scott says on Facebook Live, the time that they save by shortening the game, which is what we are there to see, they will use to add another commercial, which will make it just as long as it is now.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no doubt. Georgia, we talked about Georgia earlier, but man, there's all kinds of stuff going on with the people, the player and the girl that worked being killed in a car wreck,
right.
A while back. All kinds of lawsuits going on up there.
Well, there are, and the latest one is the father of Devin Willock, the player who was killed, has looking for $40 million. So he is suing Jalen Carter, the Georgia Athletic Association, and others. That's so unfortunate, and prayers continue for the families of the people who were killed there. Dalen Morris-Nett, their wide receiver, was arrested on DUI charges and others just a few days ago on Monday. He is a second-year player. They really like him. He was in 11 games last year as a freshman. So they're dealing with that. Now, one thing that we need to deal with real quick, and we'll talk about this when we have more time. Lenny Curry, the mayor of Jacksonville, was on 1010XL yesterday, and he was talking about the Jaguars are looking at different venues to play their games in 25 and 26 because the stadium is going to be renovated. Now, what that means is what happens to Georgia, Florida? Well, they don't know at this point, and they'll be looking at some scenarios. Would they play home and home? Would they play in Orlando? We just frankly don't know. But I just wanted to throw that out there because if people haven't heard it, Curry was on the radio, Curry again, the mayor of Jacksonville, talking about what could happen, what might happen, but more than anything else, just saying with the stadium being renovated, the Jaguars are going to find another venue for a couple of years. And then, so what does that mean for Georgia, Florida? And right now, beyond that, folks, we just don't know.
Do you think the Jags will play in the Swamp?
Good question. I can tell you this. Can you imagine the offers that they're going to get over the next 2 years in order to do that? So
yeah, they may end up down in Orlando since nobody really uses that stadium.
Yeah, but, good point.
Yeah, Clemson did that. I mean, the Carolina Panthers did that at Clemson, and I know the Bears did it when they were redoing Soldier Field. They went down to Illinois to play. So it'll be interesting to see. But I would probably guess that Florida Georgia will go home and home like it did back in 95 and 96 when they were redoing the Gator Bowl. So Ole Miss, they booted off their kid. They just got out of the transfer portal, the A&M wide receiver.
Yeah, that was a little bit surprising because they thought that he would help them. This is Chris Marshall. You had the obligatory. He's been dismissed for violation of team rules. But look, Shane, is there any doubt in your mind that Lane will find wide receivers? Certainly not in mine. So, and look, they still don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be, and all those guys are still there. Walker Howard, who came over from LSU, he's the youngest guy. Jackson Dart, the starter last year. Spencer Sanders. Now, what we haven't talked a whole lot about is Spencer Sanders had some shoulder issues and had some rehab surgery or whatever he had, so he's recovering from that too. So, Shane, that's going to be one of the more interesting things. Now, look, Ole Miss is terrible on defense. Let's just be honest about that. Shane brought this up recently, and he's right on with that. But their offense is going to be very good as it normally is.
Yeah. Dan says Texas A&M demolished their stadium and built it in one all-season. Why 2 years for Jacksonville? Texas A&M gets stuff built quickly because I know when I was there this year, they had the Florida home game, and then they played like New Mexico State it was UMass the following week, I think, and then they were done with their home. I was told that they were tearing down their entire football facility. It's not the standalone, and it would be done before this season. But money, they got more money than anybody, I think A&M does.
Yeah,
so
they really
I don't
do.
know why.
Yes.
I don't know why it's going to take 2 years in Jacksonville, but it seems like that's what happens when you redo these stadiums. But A&M, they get their stuff done quickly. Brent, give us some nuggets before we get you out of here.
Speaking of A&M, Jimbo Fisher is on the speaker circuit, and he was talking about TCU, and his quote was, "They stayed healthy, they had a lot of experience, and they got to where they had to get to, which was the playoffs. And then when they got there, they got to the SEC, and it changed, didn't it?"
Yeah.
So a little shot there, to say the least, at TCU. But as Coach Spurrier used to say, and probably still does, it's talking season in the chain. So, and look, we'll talk about this later, and I'm not going to open a can of worms with this right now, but keep your eye on this gambling situation. at Iowa and Iowa State. We don't know how deep and wide this gambling is going to be, but there's going to be a lot of investigation about it. And this is going to affect a lot of teams because there very well may be a lot of players involved in this. And I'm not saying these players are betting for or against their own team that they play for, but this is an issue, Shane, that I'm afraid it's going to that's going to mushroom and be a real issue for college football.
Yeah, because a lot of kids just do it for fun, whether it's an NBA game, a hockey game,
right,
or whatever. So yeah, we'll see. Brent, good stuff as always, and we'll see you next week, my man.
Good, can't wait, pal. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst. You can follow him on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Going to take a quick time out. Come back. We'll be joined by Mike Ridought, talking a little high school sports. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, The Keys, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Starbucks, Pfizer's Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in all of America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Mike Ridought from the Main Street Daily News and the PrepZone.com, who does a tremendous job covering high school sports. Good morning, Mike. How you doing, bud?
Very good, Shane. Thanks. Good morning. How are you?
Doing okay, Mike. We're hot and heavy in the high school softball and baseball playoffs. A lot of games were played last night and the previous night. Let's start with softball first. Kind of in this North Florida area that you cover. Tell us some teams that have advanced and have a chance to make some noise, and tell us some that were upset that surprised you.
Okay, well, for softball, we haven't really gotten started. Keystone Heights did play their, but there was a couple of teams that at least attempted, and one did get their game in last night. Keystone Heights lost their game. No surprise there. Keystone Heights, first of all, give the Indians credit because they were a number 3 seed in the 3A District 3 tournament, Shane, and they won 3 games. They beat the top seed in the district championship game. So they got in because they won their district tournament, but they got in as a number 7 seed. Now, the way the FHSA sets this stuff up, if you win a district championship, you get host a home game, even if you're not the higher seed. And that was the case in their game last night because they hosted number 2 seed Florida High in the 3A Region 1 quarterfinals. And Florida High just crushed them last night, 15-1 in 5 innings. So Keystone Heights is gone. Santa Fe was supposed to play their game last night. I was in Alachua last night. We hung around till at least 8:30 and, got another lightning strike. And then the rain started coming down and we're like, okay, we're not playing this game tonight. So they've moved that game. Santa Fe's game against Crystal River is now going to be played today at noon. The winner will play Brooksville Hernando, which shut out Trinity Catholic of Ocala last night 4-0. So those are the only games that have played locally in our area. And tonight you've got some pretty interesting matchups, Shane, because most of of our area teams come from that smaller classification, really on both baseball and softball. We've got, in the Main Street Daily News coverage area, we've got a total of 6 teams playing tonight. Now, here's the interesting thing. Branford, which has been the number 2 team in the state all year, most of the year, is playing at Fort White. Branford's the number 1 seed. Fort White is the number 4 seed. But because Fort White beat Branford in the district championship, shut them out, in fact, 7-0, Fort White will host this game tonight. So that's going to be an interesting matchup because, as they noted, Branford's pretty good. They've already got over 20 wins this year, I think 22 wins. But they now have to go to Fort White and beat a team that just beat them last week in the district championship game. Fort White was in the Final Four last year, first time in school history. And if they can get past that one, you feel pretty good that they might get to the Final Four again. Down in Region 4, Williston has been the best team all year, number 1 team in the state, and they're loaded. They've got 6 players that have signed to play at the next level. They're going to be at home tonight against Newberry. I like Williston to move on in that one. And then Dixie County is the 2 seed in that region. They will host number 3 seed Trenton, and those 2 teams hooked up last week in the district championship game. Dixie County rallied for a 4-3 win in 9 innings. That game was played at Trenton. This time it moves to Cross City to Dixie County. Another good matchup tonight. So, in other words, of those 4 teams, Williston, Newberry, Dixie County, Trenton, we'll have one area team that's going to go to the Final Four. We'll see if either Branford or Fort White can get through out of the other regional. But the other team, area team for us that's playing tonight, I don't expect them to win. But congratulations to Lake City, Columbia, because they did get into the state playoffs. Columbia is a 7 seed. They are traveling to number 2 seed Deltona tonight. So that's a look at softball. Not a lot of teams, but there are some teams that feel like can get through and have a chance to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, well, it seems like those rural schools, they're in the hunt every year. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to have life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speaking with Mike Ridought from the Main Street Daily News and the PrepZone.com about some high school sports baseball. Obviously, I think Trinity Catholic had a big win up in Pensacola. Buchholz had a big win.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Tell us, first of all, who's moving on? And I know there's probably some games being played today due to weather, but in your mind, who has a chance to really maybe win a state title?
Okay, from a state championship standpoint, that's a good question because Union County's had a pretty good year, and they held off Madison County last night. Union County's ranked 3rd in the state, max preps. They beat Madison County last night 6-5. Madison County had the tying and go-ahead run on base in the 7th inning, but the Tigers got the victory. But they're going to match up with Mayo Lafayette in Mayo, and Lafayette is ranked number 1 in the state. So if somehow Union County can win that game, they're heading to the Final Four, and they would match up with another local team, the other 1A teams that they could match up with if they win. Newberry, Williston were supposed to play yesterday. That game was postponed due to weather. They will play this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Newberry is the number 1 seed. They shut out Trenton 1-0 in the 1A District 7 tournament last week. Trenton is the number 2 seed, and Trenton, of course, lost that game to Newberry in the district championship game, but they've had a great year. They'll be at the 2 seed, hooking up with Chiefland, 3 seed, and interesting enough, they beat Chiefland in the district semifinals. So these teams know each other pretty well. I like, I don't know, Newberry Trenton would be a pretty good game. As I mentioned, 1-0 game in the district championship game. Those two teams could play in the region final on Saturday for the right to go to the Final Four. Call had to rally and win in their final at bat. They were down a run entering the bottom of the 7th this past Tuesday. And they, it's a team that was hitting at one time a little over 400 as a team. And, they've got Jack Kosmicki, who's batting, I think, 560 or 580, I think, this year. He's having a phenomenal year, one of just a couple of seniors on that team. But they've got to go to North Florida Christian in Tallahassee tomorrow. NFC is the 2 seed, Okal's the 3 seed. North Florida Christian lost in last year's 2A state championship game. So it'll be a tough matchup. Not saying that they couldn't steal a win on the road. They just stole one at home, but I think it will be a tough matchup for them. I think the best team in our area that's got a chance at winning a state championship is Lake City Columbia. They're just playing really good baseball right now. They beat Pensacola Pine Forest. Now, Pine Forest just a 7 seed in Region 5A Region 1. Columbia crushed them 14-0. Columbia's going to play Lincoln. That won't be an easy matchup, but I think Columbia will win that one. Lincoln is the 3 seed. They beat Fort Walton Beach last night 11-0. As I noted, that game's going to be on Friday, and the winner will likely get Green Cove Springs play. They're the top seed in that region, and that region final will be next Tuesday. But keep this in mind now, Shane. I wouldn't have said that Buchholz had a chance to get to the Final Four this year. That has changed based on what happened last night. Ace High School, number 16, actually they were 20th in the country. They're number 1 in Class 6A. They were upset at home last night by Winter Springs 10-4. Winter Springs was ranked 27th in the state in 6A, Shane, and they beat them 10-4 in pace. Yes, huge victory for the 8 seed. And then Leon beat Tate. So you've got a 5-8 matchup. Leon's a 5 seed, Winter Springs the 8 seed. Buchholz is the 2 seed. They beat Gulf Breeze last night 10-2. If they can get past Mosley beat Fleming Island 6-5. Buchholz will host this game on Saturday night, but then that region final would be on Tuesday. But now instead of playing a pace, now if you get past Mosley, you're going to play either Winter Springs or Leon. I think they've got a chance to get to the Final Four. But last night, Anthony Wilkie, again, another great pitching performance. He got out of a little bit of a jam at the top of the first inning as Gulf Breeze threatening him in the top in the first inning. And then Wilkie picks up an RBI in the bottom of the first. Buchholz got the win last night, 10-2. Wilkie's been really good all year. If you're talking about some of the top players in the area, he would definitely be one of them. He's a University of Clemson commit, a 1.15 ERA, 61 strikeouts, only 11 walks. It's a team that has an ERA of 2.56. Pitching, defense, timely hitting. That's what wins championships. And I do believe that Buchholz has a talented enough team to get to the Final Four. Donnie Hebert, another guy who's going to be playing football at Florida State, 362 hitter, 29 hits this year, a couple of home runs. So I think Buchholz, if they can beat Mosley, I like their chances in that region final.
When they go to the Final Four, it's not they don't play like series down there. It's just a one game, right?
Right. Yeah, but they will reseed them though.
Yeah, because when we went real deep in my high school baseball, but we had series. So we play like the South State region would be a series 2 out of 3, and then you go to the state championship 2 out of 3. But I don't know if they still do that or not. Real quick before we
I was just going to say about maybe 10 years ago. I can't remember how long ago. It's been a while now, Shane. But they did experiment with a best out of 3 in the region final for the right to go to the Final Four. But that was pretty short-lived. They only did that 1 or 2 years. It makes it tough, if you have to travel back and forth, like Gulf Breeze, for example. That's a long trip. And that's why they were determined to get that game in. They didn't play till 9 o'clock, start the game till 9 o'clock last night. That was asking a lot of Gulf Breeze to have to turn around and go and come back, So that's probably, I think, one of the reasons why they did away with that best out of 3.
Yeah. Before we let you go, Mike, spring football has started. There's a lot of new coaches in this area. I know some games I think are next week. Will y'all be broadcasting any spring games or no?
Possibly. The challenge for Marty and I, as you know, last week we were at the junior college softball state tournament, so we missed out on broadcasting district championship games for baseball and softball. I think I had 16 broadcasts last week at that tournament out in Claremont, and now Marty and I leave today to go to Lakeland, the JUCO baseball state tournament, which is now a Final Four because they have regional tournaments. Unfortunately, Santa Fe College got upset. They lost to the, I'm trying to remember the team they lost to. I just drew a blank. But Santa Fe College's season is over. Central Florida did get through. So that is a 14 tournament. It used to be an 18 tournament. So there are 2 games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then an if necessary game on Monday. But unfortunately, Santa Fe College is not there. Their season has come to an end. But getting back to your question about the spring games, if it doesn't conflict with baseball, softball, that's a challenge for us. We're going to pick a softball, baseball playoff game over a spring football game to broadcast. But the schedule's pretty loaded, really, the next couple of weeks with that, because next week are the FHSA baseball state semifinals down in Fort Myers. That begins next Wednesday. And then the following week are the FHSA softball finals. But as far as the spring games, some of the games that you're looking at, Shane, PK Young, which now has a new football coach, and Willie Jackson. Oh, by the way, how about this, Shane? There are 4 high school football coaches in Alachua County who played NFL football. You got Willie Jackson, who just took the PK Young job. You got Ian Scott during his first year at Gainesville High School. started out with Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
CI, even though his Cornelius Ingram's career was short-lived because of injuries, he did get into the NFL. He's over at Hawthorne. And then Harold Gator Hoskins, who enters his second year, also spent some time in the NFL. I just think that's pretty awesome that we've got this representation of guys that played in the league that are coaching high school football in this area. But anyway, PK Young will play their spring game at St. Francis Catholic. That's going to be next Thursday. So case in point, there's the 1A baseball final for softball, or the 1A baseball state championship game that day. There's the 2A state semifinal games that day. So depending on our local teams, we'll determine if we're able to go broadcast any of these spring games. Newberry will play at Citizens Field against Gainesville on Friday, May 19th. So again, these games, kicking off next week. Santa Fe is going to host a jamboree with Keystone Heights and Orange Park Ridgeview. That will be on Monday, May 22nd. Oak Hall will be at home against Impact Christian on Thursday, May the 25th. Eastside's going to play an inter-squad game, orange-green game. That will also be on the 25th. That will be at Eastside High School. And Buchholz is going to go to Stark Bradford on the 25th as well. So that's a look at what's coming up for these spring football games. They'll be wrapping up at the end of the month.
Good stuff as always. Mike, let everybody know how they can check your stuff out at Main Street Daily News.
I appreciate it. Yep, MainStreetDailyNews.com. We got a recap of what happened last night in high school baseball and softball. And then tonight, even though Marty and I will be down in Lakeland, I'll have some type of a recap of what's taking place today with the softball quarterfinal and semifinal games. And then coming up in the month of June, I guess, we're going to have our inaugural track and field all-area teams. We just had our inaugural soccer all-area teams, Bossar Realty all-area teams, and then we'll do the same thing for baseball and softball. So even when the season comes to an end, we got plenty of coverage coming up in the month of June. And then, by the time July rolls around, we're really starting to count down to the new season. So we kind of go year-round with this stuff at MainStreetDailyNews.com.
Yes, indeed. Good stuff as always, Mike. Appreciate your time, bud.
You're welcome. Thanks, Shane. Have a great day.
That's Mike Ridought. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Take our final time out. Come back. Wrap up this Thursday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Peaceland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. I want to thank Brent Beaird and Mike Ridought for joining our program. If you missed it last night, as I stated, the Knicks stay alive. Heat lead the series 3-2, and the Lakers lead the series 3-2 as well. Tonight, the 76ers can finish that series off against the Celtics at home, and the Nuggets trying to win that series. They're at Phoenix. They lead that series 3-2. The Panthers lose last night, so the Maple Leafs stay alive as well. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This Day in Sports in 2014, PGA Player Championship, TPC Sawgrass. This is back when they used to play it in May. Martin Keimer beats Jim Furyk and wins about $1.8 million. So that's This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA. Don't forget to tell your friends and family to follow our program. We're on every platform you can think of out there. We appreciate everyone chiming in via text on the Titan More text line, also on Facebook Live. We get a ton of stuff on YouTube as well. I need to start reading some of that. Remember, the Gators softball team plays today, game 1, the SEC tournament out in Arkansas. They have the Kentucky Wildcats. I believe it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is the first pitch. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.